Hi there, this is Alvin, and welcome to the Kickstart Commerce podcast, where we share search marketing and domain investing strategies to help grow your business. In today's episode, our guest is none other than Hiren Patel, a serial entrepreneur, domain investor, and the seller of the most recent $180,000 transaction, electriccar.com, as well as a few other notable 5 and 6 figure domain sales. Today, Hiren and I discuss how his physical real estate experience made a way for him to realize domain investing success. We talk about the importance of identifying and studying domain buyers, why and how overpaying for domains has brought him into profitable success, and last but not least, we pull back the veil on a handful of remarkable domain sales, as well as Hiren shares a few of his never reported before sales. And so with that, Hiren, welcome and thank you for making time to join us today.
Thank you very much, Alvin, for inviting me to have some conversation with you, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, certainly. And so I know everybody is is wanting to know the backstory of, man, how do you go from I guess zero to $180,000 domain sale? And so we're certainly going to get into that story a little later into the show, but at least for now, to kick things off here, and let's briefly share with listeners a bit about, who you are, your professional and personal background, and just, where you're based at.
Hello, everybody. Myself is Hiren Patel, and I am an owner of qualitynames.com. Qualitynames.com. I am living in USA, basically Detroit, Michigan, and my background as a professional job, I am working as a warehouse manager, and before I used to work as a plant manager in one of the electronics manufacturing company. And I also have a real estate business with my brother in India. I born and brought up in India, but I moved to the USA in 2001. So but I'm still pretty much connected with India on a regular basis because of my own business, as well as lots of family and friends still living over there. In around 2011, I just get in touch with for some reason I just found out about the domains. And you know like initially I had a very poor experience. Initially, I lost around $5,000 or something in 2011. Then I left, and around 2015 I came back and started the journey again. So this is just the brief of how exactly I started.
And so then I guess so let's share with the listeners a bit. So how did you, I guess, stumble upon domain names?
For some reason, I was if we visit the many websites and everything, so we have to use the web address, right? And that's how I was wondering. And plus, long time ago, yeah, I think around 2011 and 12, I seen many names listed on eBay for hundreds and thousands of dollar, or even millions of dollar. But see, right now, we as a domain investor, or maybe even a domain trader, we may understand that those were the unrealistic asking price. But as a just the person who do not even know anything about the industry, and if the person will see those kind of prices, then as a general audience, I thought, because most of time on Amazon, on eBay, the people list items which they really like to sell. So as a just person, I thought, if people are listing for this price, that means this must be selling around these prices. So I didn't knew anything about the data, and I didn't knew anything about the industry at that time. So around 2010, 11, I think it was a beginning of a dot co. But actually, not real beginning, but r- I think rush auctions were going at that time. I think in 2011. for .co. So I thought, like, let me grab this opportunity to start registering a very good .co for, that time, to so I can maybe sell for certain profit in a future. So I started registering many .co, and I don't remember many names, but maybe few names that I can share. Maybe I think Cancer Hospital .co, and some kind of a student hospital. I don't remember exactly how many names, but I registered almost $3,000 to $5,000 worth of .co at that time. At that time, there was no STBot value available for .co in 2011. So I was just like doing the STBot for .com version for the same name. And if it says, like, let's say like cancerhospital.com for $75,000, then I thought maybe it's maybe worth it to at least register .co version for $30. So, but at that time, there was no other tool available for learning about the sales history, or um, like namebio.com right now, right? So I think there was only DN Journal and some pseudo .com sales history, and I think I forgot the name for a couple sites at that time. So but honestly speaking, like, for 1 year or so, nothing got sold, nothing happened. I think even I hand raised so many .com as well, like everybody does in a initial stage,
Right.
and
Right.
I end up selling only one name for $300 at that time, which was my first ever sell. And I think one more name for $1,500. The first name was pokerur.com, pokerur.com for $300, and acreditrepair.com for $1,500. But nothing much happened, so I left everything in 2012. I think, yeah, 2012, and I restarted again for for some reason again in 2015, and it was a beginning of Chinese boom.
So before we jump into the Chinese boom part, so then how much money had you invested initially?
Yeah, actually, like I said, like in 2011 and around 2012, I invested around $5,000. I lost everything except like couple sales, but I think I may have lost maybe, yeah, around like $5,000 to $6,000 total in 2011. Then I left because of, see, the thing is that it didn't affect me much, because of I had a like other source of income, which gave me the uh, kind of a, not a luxury, but it
Yeah,
didn't
because
affect me. Yes.
right, because you had a primary source of income that that you likely operated, you paid all your bills and living expenses from, whereas the domain, what you made on domain names was likely secondary.
Yes.
So then what brought you back into domaining after that? Because you said that you did the 2010, 2012, then you kind of went away, and then in 2015 that kind of brought you back. So what exactly, brought you back in? I mean, were you looking at name pros, or a different form, or what exactly brought you back?
Actually, for some reason, I don't know, like, I for some reason I got landed into the Flippa at that time in 2015. And the story which created some spark within me was that somebody sold uh, shipyourenemy's glitter.com for $85,000. The guy who made a site for just sending the your friends, or like, if you don't like somebody, then just like send a glitter. So uh, and I think he, after he made a site, it, like, he had almost 2 to 3 million visitors within a 2 3 days after he promoted on Reddit or a couple other social media platform. And then again, I started my journey again in 2015, with hand raise, like what I did in 2011 and 12. And again, for 1 year, almost for 1 year, nothing happened.
So nothing happened. So then, I mean, kind of what was going through your mind at that point? Is this like, oh no, here I go again, or what were you thinking?
No, see, the thing is, honestly speaking, like in my life, I always believe in one thing, which is like never give up. So once I get behind something, then I'm not worrying about how much I lose to get something, like, right. So money was not a factor, like if I lose this or that, but the thing is, it was not like I was not satisfied with, because it was not, nothing was working, at that time.
Right,
Then I started thinking that what else I can make the changes, so I can start seeing some results, right.
right,
Because ultimately, like we all can dream about, oh, let me hand raise tigerloveshark.com, and I can one day I will sell for $1 million. But that's not reality. That's not what about, the domaining is, right.
right,
Yeah, because like we need to get into somewhere that we are owning an asset which is like based on some facts and data, right. So like around 2015, the Chinese boom started, and Chinese boom was around about 4letter.com, and six numbers, seven numbers, right. So but I, I I was like every other day I was visiting the flipper, and I seen the movement of 4 letter Chinese version of 4 letter moved from $100 to kind of a $1,500 in matter of 15 days or 1 month. And by the end of second month it touched almost $3,000 level,
wow,
so, but one thing is for sure, like see, like I may had a luxury of money, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna spend anything into into anything which I do not understand, right. So I thought, let me start with something at the lower level. So I started investing into the 4letter.com, and six number and seven number.com. And I think I also like bought some five numbers .com as well at that time. And my target around that time was, I want to just realize the profit, like if it is a $25, $50, or $100, I want to just experience of how to trade even between the reseller to reseller. And so basically I was like trying to win the auction about like 4 letter or five numbers, or maybe like six numbers on various auction platform, or try to even buy in the NAMPROs and try to resell the same assets for maybe $25, $50 profit. And so those 25 to $50 profit gave me lots of confidence in my life, that yes, at least like something started moving, right.
right. Right, and so that, I mean, would that be your advice to, early domain investors, is to really not go for, I guess, that home run or even that triple. It's really kind of get some singles under your belt in terms of some lower sales, just to gain the confidence.
See, the thing is, my with the time, I learned many things, and I'm still learning as a good student. Like I consider myself as a student, right? And I learned with the time that invest into something which you understand. Don't invest into something which you do not understand. Right? So I would definitely share with many friends who are trying to like start their journey into the domain world, right. Just invest into something which you can understand, right.
Right.
And do not invest into something like, let's say, like, if we try to invest into the some kind of a Chinese pattern, but if you don't know, then by the time maybe like, like, somebody may be buying those pattern when the trend is dying in the China, which we do not even know, right?
Right, and that actually happened. I mean, there were people who were, on the tail end of that thing thinking that, oh man, this thing is gonna come back, and when it does, it's gonna be around, $5,000, $6,000 and it'll work out. Well, it didn't, at least it hasn't as of today, and we're what, at least 4 or 5 years past that.
No, the thing is like, I learned with the time, and I have many friends in China, and I even learned that actually that Chinese boom was because like, they wanted to like move the money faster than, like, any other assets, right? And I think at that time in 2015, uh, they choose the domain to move the money, right?
Gotcha. Right.
And I think I think by end of 2015 or beginning of 2016, they found a Bitcoin.
uh
And if you relate both things, like, if you put the chart of next to each other, you will see that Bitcoin started moving up significantly after 2016, and this Chinese boom. So basically they already shifted because the Bitcoin is more easier to trade than the domains. We are just talking about the pattern, like those Chinese
right.
pattern.
Right.
We are not talking about the domaining in general, right? I'm just sharing that they shifted their attention from this so-called Chinese pattern, which did not had any meaning, into, because like, see, like, every names are unique, right? And every name cannot have the same value, right? And those boom, they created the market such a way that any kind of Chinese pattern worth 3,000, so doesn't matter if they have a meaning or no.
Do you think it'll ever switch back, possibly, of them going away from, or Chinese investors going away from Bitcoin back to domains?
No, no, see, the thing is like, when this boom started, right, in 2015 and 16, right, in reality, uh, uh, because of the certain patterns and because of the auction platform, right, I think they pump the price for all kind of similar pattern, right? But in reality, I know because of I have many friends in China. There are certain patterns, there are certain patterns, okay, even within that Chinese version of the 4letter.com, and those patterns are still selling for 3,000, 4,000, 20,000, $25,000,
Right.
from reseller to reseller, and for the end user point of view. And certain patterns within the Chinese version of the 4 letter, it still does exist, and it still brings very good result even in today's time.
Interesting. And so then those patterns, so the 4L, likely the shorter .com patterns, and then some of the numeric patterns, that was something that you quickly then specialized in and began to learn about.
Yeah, means like, at that time, like I said, like, see, the thing is, if see, the thing is, the like, why I choose the 6 numbers and 4letter.com at that time, even I think the seven numbers beginning or ending with 888, because it it considered as a liquid asset class at that time, right? And when something has a liquid asset class, that means like there is a average market price for that particular asset, right? So when there is a average price for a particular segment of the liquid asset class, that means if you try to buy something in a lower end, there is a probability to make little profit, right?
Right, right,
Yeah, so let's say, like, if the average 5numbers.com at that time with the 0 and 4 was selling for around like, let's say, like, 600 $700, and on Nampros, if I find something for 500 $550, from the Chinese seller who been owning that pattern since maybe 5 years before, so they around that newer time, right, they were selling for very cheap, at that time. I used to buy and used to sell for average market price around like 700, 750. So I made around like 200, 250 profit per name around that time,
Interesting. So over the course of 2015, 2016, you pretty much fall into the 4N, 6N, 4L, 6N market. You're able to turn quite a profit. Now, in that time, I guess now were you participating in some of the expired domain auctions and still hand registering like two-word domains, or kind of what types of domains were you buying during that time?
See, the thing is like after I entered into that segment of like 4 letter, 6 numbers, 7 numbers at that time, uh, I stopped hand rage at that time, because I realized like for due to my previous like two times experiment, right, with the hand rage. I realized that it's not working for me. That means like I do not know how to uh, hand raise the good names,
Right.
so so basically then I literally focused only into the aftermarket at that time, and even like if we are talking about today's time, I rarely hand raise something. My hand raise my within my portfolio, my hand raise maybe around less than 1 or 2%, not more.
Wow. And so like how many domains do you own today?
I think today I own around 750 names, and well, like I said, I like to keep experimenting with the many stuff. So I also recently I experiment with that $1 promo for .co on GoDaddy like few
Okay.
months ago, and I hand raise around 197 names for $197, and I sold three names for $1,200. I already recovered my profit from those hand rates. So right now I have a fixed buy it now price on everything 499 flat. So if anything sells before the expiration, it's okay. And if it is not, I'm gonna let it drop everything.
Interesting. And that was going to be the follow-up question is what is that typical mindset and strategy in it? In at least to me, it sounds like you're willing to say, "Hey, I'll go and purchase 197 domains at $1 a pop, if you will, be able to sell a couple to at least break even, if not go well into being fully profitable. But after that domain, actually after the 1 year annual renewal comes around, you're willing to let them go versus wait another year."
Yes, because of the high renewal cost, and
Hmm.
that was my experiment. But see, the thing is, but this kind of experiment we can do because we already have a like almost consistent cash flow and other incomes from the other great sales,
Right.
so like this kind of experiment is always good, but like I would not recommend this kind of experiment for somebody who are completely new into the market,
Right. Because at least right now, at the time of this recording, obviously, we're all being somewhat impacted by COVID to some degree. But for instance, there's 45 million people who are and growing who are unemployed, and you wouldn't say, "Hey, let's take your unemployment of $600 or whatever a person's getting paid and put it all on this type of an experiment."
yeah, means like yeah, I would never suggest, or I would never give opinion to anybody who really like to start into this hand raise segment at all, because like see the hand raise is not easy nowadays, because just like, okay, logically speaking, okay, this is just pure logic, okay, there like recently I read like a couple of days ago, there are like 366 million names got registered so far, okay, 366 million, okay. Now, in last quarter, almost 5 million new names got registered. Okay.
Wow.
So now imagine what is the probability of something good is left to hand raise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and yeah, means like there is a there are many hand raise we can do even today, which can be a future tech, right? But even in the future tech, there is no clarity that which term is gonna come on the surface, or which term is gonna get popular.
Right.
Best example I can give you is right now for this autonomous driving, right? There are three different terms going in the market: autonomous vehicle, self-driving vehicle, and driverless vehicle, right? So we don't know which term is going to be a household name into next 5 to 10 years, right?
Right.
So basically in that situation, that means like we need to hand raise so many names because of multiple terms available right now, and we don't know which term is going to be get more popular, right? And in that scenario, yes, we are trying to play with the future tech, but it's not going to bring maybe a kind of a good profit in a present circumstances, right? So basically, for anybody who are new into the market, they should focus into something where they can invest into something and they can get the result earlier than waiting for 5 to 10 years.
So then, how does, so then, and likely is the case, the listeners are likely wondering, at least it passes through my mind, then how does someone like yourself go from, not having really that much success in terms of hand registering domains all the way to $180,000 sale of electriccar.com? Like, how does that happen?
See that, okay. Now in 2000, like I said, in 2015 and 16, I was trying to work with the 4letter.com, right? And at the same time, one of the very reputed member on Nempros forum, he was trying to sell one particular name. That name was gono.com. Okay, he purchased the name for around $7,200, but for some reason I really liked it. I really liked it, that name. But because of my that $50, $100, $50, $100 profit experience,
Right.
right, and but because I also had a money with me due to my other source of income, right?
Ah,
So I I I negotiated that name with that particular seller, and everyone else in the market were offering him like 4,000, $5,000, which was like he had to take a loss, right? The way I do my business is I believe in the business which is profitable to all, right? So I believe in a deal with the somebody where they make something and they leave some room for me. So as a buyer or seller, I make sure that uh,
right. There's still some money on the table.
yeah, I mean, means like if I'm a buyer and if I know the purchase price from the seller, I will never ever offer him less than his purchase price. That is how I do my business, because I want to make sure that other person is at least, if he really want to liquidate, then at least liquidate for the purchase price or a little bit like more than his purchase price. So basically we settled with the $7,500 deal. I just really like the name, and at the same time I was also participating in the auction on an MJet and GoDaddy and various places, and I start I was buying the name around like $200, $300 in auction, and at the same time I also purchased a name called breakingnews.org, right? And I bought the name for $300. And initially I was like, as soon as I buy something, I start I list those names in appraisal forum on Nampros basically, and just get the feeling of what other people are thinking, because I was a I was totally a new person in the industry, and I don't know. So I would definitely like to hear the feedback from many people at the same time, right? So during that appraisal forums, one of the guy who noticed that he really liked the name, and he knocked my door that okay, I would like to buy this name. So to long story short, I sold breakingnews.org for around $4,900, and after a 1 year I sold Gono for $12,000, and both name I sold to the another investor on Nampros basically.
So then, okay, so wow. I mean, you go from a $300 investment or, cost of investment to a $4,900 sell. You go from a $7,500 investment to a 12K sell. So how long did that take? Are we talking about a window of, a month, 2 months,
That
6 months?
no, like this breaking news, I think it got sold within a couple weeks, and this Gono 7,500 to 12,000, it took 1 year.
That's impressive. And so then so with both of these names, I'm assuming that you're studying the buyer because like you said, it for you it's about the overpaying, and because you're going to overpay, that likely lessens the competition to a certain extent. And so how do you go about like identifying and just studying your buyers to, kind of come up with the price that that they're likely not going to decline?
No, see, the thing is like with the time, we understand there are so many competitions are there in the market, right? So, and if you make many friends within the industry, you start learning about the psychology of many friends, right? Like, okay, in these circumstances, what they will react or what they will do, right? So keeping everything in mind, yes, like if I know that some other friend is going for a particular asset, then I would never go for that asset. Okay, but unknowingly, if me and my friend both are going for the same asset, then we don't know about each other, but in that situation I try to think that okay, there are like a few other people who may like this type of asset, and in that circumstances, what they will offer. So I am, and plus, like once you do the inquiry with the seller, they will also react. Okay, this is my expectations or something, and then the negotiation starts. So some of the negotiations take maybe 1 year, 6 months, 1.5 year. Like some of the negotiations I had in my life, like which ends around like 1 year, 1.5 year, and some I have finished within a couple days, or some I have finished within a 1 week. It all depends on the kind of an asset and the kind of a price the seller is expecting.
So then in the case of the electriccar.com, kind of walk us through that story of, how you kind of came about, finding it, and then in terms of being able to negotiate with the buyer, and then in terms of even purchasing it, but then turning around and having it sold. Like kind of walk us through that process.
Yeah, see, like electriccar.com, I really like that name. And actually, how I get the idea about electric car was due to my conversation with one of my other friend, like and his name is like he is from Delhi. He's the owner of informationtechnology.com.
Man, that's an awesome name.
Wait, yeah, and let me find out. His name is Nitin, and he's also on the available on the Nampros. And for some reason, like we become a good friend with each other, and he shared his story about informationtechnology.com and how much he paid. I'm not gonna share, but that gave me idea that oh, so like this kind of assets we can also get for a x amount of price, right?
Right.
So then I was thinking like what I can try to find in a market which may have a very good presence and a very bright future, and at that time the Tesla and everything was like kind of a,
Yeah, they were kind
it-
of the talk of the town.
yeah, talk of the town in around like 2017. I'm talking about 2017, right? And I I just had a few good sales, basically. So then I searched about electriccars.com and electriccar.com, at that time. I found out that electriccars.com was not for sale because of like he that seller is very tricky and he has a too much things listed on his site, right? So I the electriccar.com was under privacy. So still I shoot the arrow in a dark, like to see like if the owner is gonna respond or not, right? And after 3 days I got a response that yes, this asset is for sale. And I didn't knew like what happened at that time, but I think fortunately for me and unfortunately for them, they filed bankruptcy recently, basically, at that time. So but they were not going to let the asset for 500 to 1000 or $5,000, like they were asking very, very big price, right?
Right. Yeah, they weren't going to let it go for like a fire sale price.
Yeah, yeah, like, yeah, because they already had many offers in the past from many people, right? So basically I asked them like what is your expectation or something, and they gave me one number, and I said okay, then I started with my number, basically, right? So like a little bit back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? We settled for a particular number in a five figure range. So I would never say it was a cheap, I would never say it was expensive, but it was a decent amount in five figure. It was not cheap for sure in that time frame. In 2017, it was not a cheap at all, right? Because the market share for electric car was only 2% at that time, See, right now we are talking about 180K or something because it got sold. So basically after the negotiation went for almost a week, 1 week, and after 1 week everything got finalized via escrow.com, and I got the name in my account. And as soon as I got the name in my account, I shared with a few friends, and obviously I'm gonna share with my good friend Nitin, right? So
Right.
as soon as I shared with him, he said, Hiren, you know what? I said, no. He just sent me the screenshot of his negotiation with the same owner. And coincidentally, me and him, we both started with the same number initially. We don't know with about each other like what we are hunting for, what kind of asset in the market, right? But it turns out to be we both were going for the same asset unknowingly, right? So like he shared with me, and then I asked him, Nitin, okay, now just tell me honestly, so how much would you pay, he told me a particular number in a five figure, and I definitely paid more than him, like he would pay, basically, then I thought, actually, still that number is not far from each other. That means like I would still consider it as a like safe purchase, and honestly speaking, he had like a very great experience selling like many five figure names, or like which he bought for a couple $100, which sold for five figures, right? So that gave me little confidence that actually buying is on a safe side, right?
Interesting. And so I guess that kind of gave you a bit of comfort, but then so did you automatically turn around as soon as you purchased it and then put it up for sale? Kind of what walk us through kind of what happened from there once the electric car became yours or you became the owner of it.
No, the thing is like yeah, means like I listed on Cedo. I didn't do anything with it, but like because I shared on a like kind of a particular like a few groups of my friends, right? And then they said, oh, this is a great asset, this can sell for this many price, blah blah blah, right?
Right.
So basically, but that at that time, like I thought I hit a lottery, right? So I thought, oh, I would sell this for $2-3 million or like couple $1 million or something, and but yes, like I just listed for sale, but in the journey, basically so far I had five different 100 to 125k to around even up to like 150k offer five different times from the five different interested buyers,
And what
so
made you
far.
say no each of those times?
So the thing is, like I was expecting, honestly speaking, I was expecting at least around like close to $1 million, right? But I also thought, like, see, with the time, you in the journey you realize what kind of assets can bring what kind of value, right? Like you and me can expect that, okay, my assets is worth 5 million, but that doesn't mean anything, I was getting yes, I had a many offer even from the reseller between 50k to 75k to sell it to the reseller. But I thought at least this will bring at least like around $500,000 for sure, like $1 million. I listed for because I kept experimenting. I listed for $1 million, or whenever if somebody asked, I would respond with the $1 million price tag, right? And and few people try to move little bit up, right? But they do not move more than like 100 to 125k range, basically, right?
Right.
And only one time somebody had a like 150k offer, at that time. I'm talking about last year. Yeah, last year. Yeah. So with the time that I realized that, yes, this is a great asset, I have no doubt. But the thing is, instead of holding the asset for a long time, let me book the profit. Why? Simple reason, because I can always reinvest into few more similar assets which I can sell for 5x to 10x or even 20x ROI, and I can just repeat the performance rather than just expecting a moon price from the single asset.
Right. Now that's something that's interesting because I don't know that a lot of domain investors think about just the replacement cost of an asset. So in your case, you paid a five-figure value for electriccar.com, but then you sold it for six-figure. You booked that profit, but at the same time, you, I guess, likely can go on, the domain search for buying, not necessarily the same exact kind of domain because all domains are unique, just in their naming, but you could likely, find something that's comparable investment wise, value wise, I guess, to be able to reinvest into, to hold for another, 6, 12, 18 months, and to be able to book that again, that 5x or more return.
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, like in last 6 months to 8 months, I also started watching Domain Sherpa because of the Andrew Rosner, right? and and I seen in many episodes, like like they were discussing more about sometimes, yes, like everybody has a high expectation, from the asset, right? But
Right.
if there are a certain offer comes within the zone, do we should we really take it, or we should always expect highest price, right?
Correct.
And they were saying, let's say like the expectation is 250k from a particular asset, right? And if they have a buyer with 150 to 175k, at the same time, if their purchase price is very good, where they are still making a very great profit, then according to their conversation, they would take 175k today instead of waiting for 250k in next 2 to 5 years. See, why I settled for 180k. I would definitely, I have no doubt these assets could bring even more, even like around like 250 to between 250 to 500k.
Hmm.
I would definitely think it had the potential,
Right.
but So instead of waiting and plus like we have the situation around us, like with the COVID, we don't know what is the situation in next 5 to 6 months, market
Correct.
wise and everything. So I thought this is the right time to book the good profit and keep the money in bank rather than waiting for a long time. And one of my uncle also told me one he shared one very good thought. He is also very successful businessman, and he told me one very good thought. He told me that we should, okay, it is okay to regret after selling, instead of holding something for long term and regret later.
Right.
You right that is a very simple thought. Okay, so in both situation we may need to regret about something, but it's okay to regret after you book the profit.
Right, because at least at the end of the day, you have the profit versus the other way around. I mean, that's a sunk cost.
Yeah, no, means the thing is like I had the five different six figure offer, on
Right.
my side. So I knew that this is not something which is like kind of a like a $5,000 name and people are crazy and they just start offer left and right. No, nobody's gonna pay six figure if the asset is not worth that much, right?
Right.
So and but people don't know because I never share my data publicly. But because of the offers I was getting and everything, and that was the main reason I set the minimum offer for 100K, because I got almost five different offer in 100K range. So I wanted to start my negotiation starts from 100K and above.
And all this took place over what, like 18 months?
No, like I purchased this in like beginning of 2017, and I just sold on second week of May. So almost
Okay.
like 3 years. I
3 years
hold
in.
3 years. Yeah.
Got it. And so, and then not only that, I guess that's not your only, I guess, big time sell though. I mean, I
No,
guess you've had some others that just have never made it to the light of day.
no, the thing is like I said, like 99% of my sales are never reported publicly for a reason known to me only. you know, but because the thing is like this name got sold on Friday, on I think May 9th or May 8th. Yeah, it got sold. So I was silent, like everything was silent until the Dave, the broker, right, who
Uh-huh.
announced it on Twitter and LinkedIn and on Facebook on Monday morning. And that's how all the like the buzz started basically
Right.
about the sale. And then I had no option but to acknowledge, and at the same time, like I would like to even keep this one was private, but I had to pay 2.5% to keep it like silent, and that is too much for
Right.
paying 2.5% to just keep it. So I thought once it becomes public, then let me just share what happened about the background story. But no, this was my first publicly reported six figure sale. Yes.
Ah. And so but you've had others though.
Yeah, I had a many mid to high five figures and even a few six figure sales so far in my last 3 years journey. Yes.
Wow, and so that's something that's amazing because it takes some quite a bit of time to even get to, let's say, the mid five figure to the higher end. So anywhere between the 50 to $100,000 mark of annual sales. And so you're clearing that obviously. With electriccar.com, you've cleared that sale, hands down, and you're still doing expired domain auctions through GoDaddy and NameChat, and likely still flipping those at the lower end, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. See, the thing is like see like I hear on from many different friends that auction is very expensive, like we should never purchase in auction, or some people always say, oh, the private is wasting of time, we should never negotiate privately. But honestly speaking, so far in my journey I got the great result from all different angles. So I bought many names from auction, which brought me super and excellent return basically, and I can share. And at the same time I also had a very great success with the bean, like a buy it now price on a particular platform.
Right.
Right, and plus I had even a very good success for private negotiation, which turned out to be a very profitable deal basically. Like for example, electric car was an example of this private negotiation, and I sold it to, like, for six figure, right? Now
Right.
I can share one more example of the aftermarket purchase. In 2017 I bought one name on Sido buy it now price for $3,000. The name was Goko.com. Goko. I purchased for $3,000. And after I purchased, I shared with couple of my friends, and they told me this is unreal. This can be real price. Like, because this is very great name and it can be like $3,000, because normally this type of names, at least even in reseller market, were selling for 5,000 to $10,000. So something is wrong, like maybe is a stolen name or something. Then right away what did I do? I searched the history of the previous owner, and I called him directly, and I asked him, like, by any chance are you aware that you listed this name for on this particular platform? And he said yes, he listed the name for 2,999 on Sido, because it was a Sido suggested price. So even he was not aware of the market value for such assets. He and the pre and he was a owner of a uh, gaming company basically. So he didn't knew how the these kind of assets traded in the market, right?
Interesting.
So he listed for 299. I said, okay, no, thank you very much. I really appreciate, and I hung up my phone basically with the thank you message, because I don't want him to start thinking and cancel the deal, right? After I got the name, and I listed, and I also asked for appraisal with my old days, and many people said, oh, this asset worth this much, that much, and I always welcome everybody's feedback, with the open heart. But last year I just sold that name for $25,000, and it
That's amazing.
currently it is a crypto exchange right now. If you go to goko.com, it's a crypto exchange, and one of the, I think, the Chinese broker who contacted me to ask me for the my price, and we negotiated a little bit back and forth, and we settled for $25,000.
Like, I'm still just kind of floored at the fact that you got it for 3,000, and then you basically, I mean, you turn this thing around, for 12K, so four times, your investment cost. And so, I mean, over what period of time again?
It's a 2 years, because I bought it in 2017 and I sold in 2019.
Not bad at all.
Yeah,
Not
actually, I was expecting even a higher price from that asset, and actually, in reality, I still strongly believe that asset can fetch very great number, even more than 50K to 75K in my book, because of my little experience of trading many four letters.com. I would strongly but the thing is, like, again, either take 25K now, or either wait for 50K to 75K in next few years. I took the 25K.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, I think you hit on a perfect point here is, it's like if you look, you ask how many people a year ago. So if we were to rewind the clock a year, and say last June 2019, did anyone, especially anybody within the domain industry, did they see COVID coming? Likely is the answer is no. And so because, like you said, you don't necessarily know what the market is going to be from one day, 1 week, 1 month to the next, 1 year to the next. You have to assess and be able to say, okay, I know that, I've invested X amount of dollars in, and be able to look at the reality of where you're at, especially how you did with electriccar.com and just be able to say, no, I got to book this profit and kind of move down the line onto the next one. And so same thing with Goku or Goko.
Goko, and now let me share one more example. See, like I shared one example of the private negotiation deal. I shared one
Right.
example of buy it now price listed on a particular marketplace, and now I'm going to share one more example of the auction win, right?
Oh,
Which
nice.
turned out to be a very great profitable deal. Basically, I won one auction on Namjet, and the name was ekkke.com. Ekkke.com. Okay, and it is like just like a pronounceable 4letter.com, which I really liked it, like all the time, right? And I purchased for 1950, or yeah, I think $1900, yeah. And within a like 4 days, I got a $10,000 offer. Okay,
Get out of here. No way.
yeah, the $10,000 offer. But I think during the night time, and by the morning, I got another $10,000 offer from my very good friend, very reputed. I think I am not gonna say the name, but
Yeah.
he's like one of the top five broker in industry. Like even he submit
Yeah.
the $10,000 offer. So within a 12 hours, I got two $10,000 offer, and I asked him do you have a buyer on the table or something, or like no? He said like this is just like speculative buy for me. So but he offered me $12,000 max or something, and then but another offer came through the afternic, right? $10,000 offer. So
Right.
and at the same time the afternic broker also contacted me like, what is your asking, blah blah blah. And I said, okay, I would like to sell this for $40,000 or something. I just
Yeah.
gave the
Throw out a
number,
number.
yeah, throughout the number, because the initial offer was $10,000, right? And then he said, oh, that is too high, blah blah blah. But I said, what is the best he can do? And then he said, and at the same time, I also told him that I also have like $12,000 offer, like, and I'm still not done negotiating with him. So uh, which also pushed the next offer from that buyer up to $20,000 offer.
Wow.
So basically, and then I said, no, no, let's settle for 30K or something. And from other side, the the like my friend, who is also a very good broker in industry, he said he found other assets, so he's not he's out of the race from basically this particular asset.
Right.
I said, okay, no, thank you very much. And on other side, I had a $20,000 on table, right? So now on one side, one buyer is leaving. So I told broker, after a broker, that let's close the deal for $20,000. We closed the deal and everything got finished. But because of the namejet and the transfer name in Inom, we had to wait until the 45 days of some kind of auction lock they have.
Right. Right.
So after the transfer and everything, but the $1,900 I sold for $20,000 within 1 week.
That's what every domain investor wishes for.
No, but see the thing is, like we all wish for that, right? But it requires lots of hard work, lots of like the
Indeed.
yeah, like little bit of smart work, lots of hard work, and
Right.
we need to have a particular like understanding for a particular segment, right? Like honestly, the 4letter.com is close to my heart, right? I
Yeah,
really
that's
liked it.
that's your sweet spot.
I really liked it, and honestly speaking, like yes, like most of my assets that I purchased with the study of certain data and certain variables, right? But 4 letters sometimes I buy even though there is no existing end users for that name.
And why is that?
I just love it, and I have a very very good feeling
Got
that
you.
it's not only feeling, it's based on the like little journey so far. So in my mind, 4letter.com is the best liquid asset class in my mind.
Mm,
because for like 3 letter, it's not easy to get very good. Okay, I'm talking about the good 3 letter, right?
right.
For 30 to 40 thousand dollar, and you sell for $400,000. I'm talking about 10x ROI. Okay, it's not easy to buy the 2letter.com for $500,000, which you can sell for $5 million in a like next couple years or 3 years, right? But you can definitely buy a very good 4letter.com, right? And which you can sell for a very good profit, even more than 10x in 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. This
Right.
is thi- this is just my, like a little bit of little experience, and this is my feeling, and this is my also future prediction about how this 4 letter market will play. And I'm not talking about xvgw.com. You get me right? I'm talking about really good 4letter.com. For example,
Yeah. You're talking about pronounceables.
like for example, I own upgo.com, upgo, right?
Right.
Upgo.com.
Up go.
A- yeah, x xmax.com, right? And xboat.com, right? So I'm talking about those kind of 4 letter assets will appreciate in value over time.
No, and that makes perfect sense. And I think that, to a certain extent, it's kind of like you said. I mean, you have to figure out what lane, that one that you have an affinity for, but two, you also can actually find success in. For some people, it's hand registering. For other people, it's the quick flip. For some, it's a longer hold on the investment. For others, it's actually developing domains out. And so, or it may be numeric domains, or it may be, multilingual domains. You just kind of got to get in where you fit in, if you will, and find where you're good at. And like you said, it's going to take some hard work. It's going to take some research. You just can't, I guess, expect to come in and hope for the best, or wish for the best without, being willing to put in the hard work.
Yeah, and like if somebody asked me today like based on my little journey so far, right?
Right.
Okay, now uh, what is the good way to start, in the
Hmm.
industry, right? Then I would definitely share with the new person who really wanna start their journey, right? And the best way they can start within the industry is a 4letter.com. And let me tell you why and how. Right now, the average price for the 4letter.com is like around like 100 to $125 for any kind of 4 letter. Okay, any even lower end, right? The thing is, you can buy something close to the less than average price, right? Let's say like you bought some 4letter.com for 75 to $80. You can sell for 25 to $30 profit on NAMPROS. This is just my assumption, okay?
Right.
And this is my observation that what is going on, like the activity wise, right? So that means like instead of somebody new person, right, who hand raise 15 different .com, like for $150, right? $10 each. They, instead of that, if they can buy one 4letter.com for around like right now, don't worry about pronounceable or anything I'm talking about, because
Right.
the people don't know what will be the good price to pay for what name, right? So for anybody new, just focus into the lower end market in a 4letter.com. Okay, just try to get something less than the average price. If you go on a shortnames.com, there is a chart for average price for 4 letter on a weekly or a monthly basis, basically, so
And what
that's where
website is that?
shortnames.com.
Shortnames.com. Okay.
Yes, shortnames.com. And where you can find the average price for any kind of 4 letter, even the lower end, right?
Okay.
And that's where you will find the average price for the current market. So basically, let's say like if the average price is 120 or something, and if you are lucky, if somebody wants to liquidate for $100 or $80 or $90, because people needs, like a liquidity, and sometimes they just let it go, right?
Right.
So you try to buy around the lower segment and try to sell for 125, 130, and then even come up with some kind of acronyms, or or try to dissect the four letters into like two ways or four ways, right? Like play with the try to create a meaning out of the name, basically,
Right.
because see, the thing is like, if somebody invested $100 into the four letter .com, right? Then yeah, if the market crash, the value becomes $75 or $80, right? Or if the market increase for the average price, it becomes $150, right? But the thing is, you already kept your loss. I'm talking about, instead of, let's say, like, you hand raised something which did not sold for 1 year, and you end up dropping, you lost everything.
Correct. I got it. Got it.
And here you are playing with a particular asset class where you already aware of your lower end.
Right.
So even if you want to liquidate something, your max loss is what, like $10, $20, $15 or something.
Correct.
So
Yeah, because you kind of built in then because you already know what that lowest point is, and so you kind of built your safety net in.
yeah, so like if today, if somebody asks me like, okay, which segment we should start as a new like a new investor into the domain world, personally, this is just my, my opinion, don't go with my opinion, because everybody has a different way of trading, right? But uh, liquid, and plus it's a affordable liquid asset class, four letter, three letter.com is very expensive to get into. Like it required 10,000, $15,000 capital, to start into that, right?
That's an interesting approach because, like you said, most domain investors are going to start likely somewhere either in Handrich or they're going to start in expired domain auctions, likely looking at two, maybe three word, .com domains. And so to take that approach in terms of going after the four letter and build in, learn what that market is through visiting shortnames.com to be able to base and go, okay, here's kind of where the market's at, and then set aside the appropriate cash, jump in there. I mean, to a certain extent, it's while we're not going to guarantee that it's 100% proof, but you are and you do reduce the risk of, versus if you're going out and just going to go into hand reg and you don't know where, things are going to be. So, I definitely agree in terms of the approach that you state.
Like I said, I also started my journey with $25 to $50 profit, right?
Right.
And step by step, and I'm not gonna share the name, but I can tell you like a little background of my four letter journey as well. I sold a $5,000 four letter for $45,000 in 3 months.
That's awesome.
I sold $15,000 four letter for $40,000 in a 1 week. I sold 230 four liter for $7,500 within a 2 or 3 months, and everything is incoming inquiry. Okay,
Yeah.
my entire model is based on incoming inquiry only. I
Wow. So
never
you do no
ever
outbound.
I never ever did outbound. Yes, I would love to learn that, with the time, for sure. I would love to add that weapon into my armory for a future growth, But so far, none of my sales, whatever I did in last 3 years, never ever, nothing I sold via outbound to the end user. No.
Now, interesting enough, now I guess now do you list you? So we obviously know that you list using Cedo because of the $180,000 sale, but do you list anywhere else?
Yeah, means like right now I list with the Dan, right?
Okay, Dan.com.
Landing page I use Dan, and I use the buy it now price on Afternic, and pseudo I'm still adding. a few assets, because Sido has a very complicated verification process,
Right.
so but I keep adding certain assets gradually even on Sido, and my target is to have a bean on Sido and after Nick and have a make offer on Dan. But I keep experimenting, all the time. I keep experimenting, so it may even change after 1 week or 2 weeks. So like, but yes, like I try to list on multiple marketplace for a maximum exposure for my asset.
So then, I mean, last but not least, is there anything else, that you'd like to share with you, listeners, in terms of, how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, means like they can connect with me on the Twitter, or like on Nampros. My alias is Terra Domain, TERADOMAIN, right?
Gotcha.
And on Twitter, my address is quality names underscore. Via website, they can contact me through the qualitynames.com. Right now it's just like redirecting to the Dan, but very soon I may come up with my own little blog or something in the future.
Shoot, man, with as many stories as you have, I'm pretty certain you'll come up with a blog of just all the different your journey and how you've perfected the craft of certainly 4-letter domains as well as into 5 and 6 figure sales.
And I would really like to say thank you to, like a few of my friends, like Eric, Zach,
Yeah.
and a few others, like who helped me a lot, in this journey so far.
Hey, you're thanking them, but truth be told, it's like, hey, man, I thank you, for actually, joining us today and coming to share your entrepreneurial and your domain investing journey.
Thank you very much for like allowing me to share my little journey so far with you.
Yeah, because truth be told, we don't really get that many type of stories that people are willing to come forth. Obviously, and it makes sense. I mean, this is a competitive industry, a competitive market, and you if you have a leg up, you definitely want to keep that leg up and the party going. As long as you can. So, I know the listeners are likely gracious that you took time out to share your story and pull back the veil, if you will, to be able to let people know it is possible for someone to come in to the industry as late as it is, because a lot of people think, well, I had to have been there in the early 90s or early 2000s or mid 2000s, and here it is. You came in, yeah, you spent some money, you lost some money, but then got things turned around in the last 4 years, and here it is. You're a profitable success.
Yeah, thank you very much. See, like I believe in one thing. Opportunity was there 5,000 years ago. Opportunity does exist even today, and opportunity will be there even after 5,000 years. So opportunity will always be there for like, so there is nothing like late or something.
Totally. Totally. And so, I look forward, I hope and wish you the best in terms of the future. It's like, man, I hope that you get to come back on here with another sale that you've managed to realize here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, certainly. And with that, we're out of time. So thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Kickstart Commerce, where we share search marketing and domain name strategies to help grow your business. Please subscribe to this podcast via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or Podbean. Last but not least, please visit kickstartcommerce.com to subscribe to the newsletter sharing tips and tricks about the disciplines of digital strategy. Thanks, and that's all for now.